friends. Welcome to Truth Noir. We are talking about various topics tonight, one of which is the election primaries that just happened here in the good old state of California, where Dirk and I live, and also where Drumebox is. And so, yeah, it was kind of an oddly contested. The whole run has been really weird up to this point, and so Dirk had a couple things he wanted to say about it, and that is who I am joined by once again, Mr. Dirk Beecham.
Hello, sir. Thanks for having me on the show.
Always a pleasure.
I voted yesterday, and
I did as well. Did you get the little sticker?
Yes, I do the permanent. I've been on for like 15 years now for the permanent vote by mail.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we used to have to always apply every election, and now once you do it once, you're on it.
When you mail in your vote, they just throw it in the trash.
I'm wondering about that. So anyway, they called. The house I was living in, the person I was living with, she's a Democrat. But I noticed I wasn't able to vote for. I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, and I noticed I wasn't able to vote in the Democratic primary. So I looked at my booklet, and it says American Independent and then Green Party. And by the way, they made an agreement that you can vote in each other's primary. In other words, Republicans, Democrats could make that agreement too with all parties, but they don't. So anyway, but they did pass a law that you do have a right. Unlike New York and four other states, there's 5 states in the union still that you can't do that. You can't do what I did. What I did was I went down to the polling booth and I surrendered my ballot and I said I would like a Democratic ballot. And they gave me one, and then I went into the booth and then I was able to vote in the Democratic primary.
Okay.
Though there was a woman, a very famous woman on Facebook, you probably know her, Jen Spazmaster, her poll location told her no. So she had to...
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, so this is... Well, and by the way, the 5 states that didn't allow it at all, including New York, would have made the difference whether Bernie Sanders was going to be the candidate for the Democratic Party or not.
Well, yeah, it seemed like there was a
So he's got the popular vote. It's just that you weren't allowed to get your vote in, because if you're independent or Green Party or something other, you weren't allowed.
Right.
And New York's still got the antiquated. Supposedly, New York's got this very unliberal, or I don't think. Well, it's not, I think it's a thing that's not either liberal or conservative. I don't think a liberal or conservative would agree with this restriction that your vote shouldn't count. No.
Yeah, well, New York seems to have a lot of odd restrictions. Who is it that banned large size sodas?
Yeah.
And it seems to me that in a state where people tout themselves as being so badass
and so smart, I think that they think they're just to remind you how smart they are.
Why are you allowing people to dictate what you eat and where you can smoke your cigarettes?
Oh yeah. And then this other thing was
personally, I blame the Yankees.
A couple months ago they had a big thing about Rikers Island. And it's one of the worst county jails in the nation, with all this corruption and cruelty and beating, and it makes LA County look like a walk in the park.
Right.
If you do time,
like a tickle fest.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that really you still haven't cleaned up Rikers Island. It's 2016, and only now the FBI is finally. I heard on the news they're finally getting into there. As of this month.
Yeah, it's basically
it's
the
they should have gone in
Alcatraz.
There. Yeah, or Auschwitz.
Right, or something.
They have they have this unusually high suicide rate of people who serve time there, and then when they get out, they just happen to want to just kill themselves. Yeah. Well, anyway, go figure.
Well, you shouldn't be breaking the law now. It's not Rikers Island fault.
But as usual, we're all over the map here, but it's a beautiful picture, though.
That's various topics. Yeah, it's a prime photograph of American unity. Did you know that your sticker that says "I voted" on it was actually a scratch and sniff?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but then I just happened to
scratch it,
brush against it, and and it smelled to me like the rotting carcass of freedom.
Oh,
That's what your I voted scratch and sniff.
which is a very
sticker
similar smell to.
tells you.
Are you sure you weren't smelling something else? Because it's very similar to the.
No,
to
I
the
had showered
hootenanny.
that day.
Oh, it wasn't the hootenanny smell of Hillary Clinton?
No,
It might have been.
Personally, I've never been there personally.
Okay, you never whiffed.
It might. Well, they might
Ms.
be
Clinton?
one and the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Ode to
I think it's
Clinton.
similar. Yeah, yeah.
Could be.
That hootenanny is putting off quite a little.
But yeah,
fragrance
I
there.
like the trick she pulled where she just like claimed the election the day before the California primary. Like,
Oh boy, that's cockiness.
I don't really, like whatever your political leanings are, like I really just don't care anymore. But like when you're a political candidate and you say, "Oh, I'm against the foul play and the mudslinging," and then you pull a shithead move like that, and then when the media just jumps all over it and reports it and says, "Oh, Hillary Clinton presumptive nominee," like that is electioneering.
Yeah.
Like that's the definition of that, and it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
everyone wants to talk about which bathroom certain people should use.
Yeah. Which one are you using?
I started going outside, man. I don't like the drama.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I watched you go outside.
I figure these days in the good old US of A,
Yeah.
everywhere is my toilet.
Yeah. We're in a toilet right now.
Well, we're on a pretty posh studio stage.
No, actually, no.
Right
Yeah,
now.
this drone box studio is it's brand new.
They do have
brand
pristine,
spanking new.
They do have pristine bathrooms, by the way. So
They-
I do
bathrooms
use
are the
those
finest.
when I'm
But
in
everything
town.
is less than the floors and everything are less than 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no musty smell. There's nothing. I mean, it's just-
Freshly laid.
yeah. I got something freshly laid.
All right. So let's see what else we got here. We got Clint and Bernie pretending to like each other.
And there was a long-winded comment. Normally, I love Ralph Nader, and I wasn't able to underline some of the things he said, but
Their tablets move
it
a
was
little
just
bit slow.
it was
here.
just long-winded. And he did say that he.
Is this something we have up here, or
Oh, that's something else. That's just a good old. I know you folks love my right-wing memes, and that's just a good old bash written in 1931 that basically says that for the financial debacle that happened back then, it was all the poor's fault.
right? Yeah. So the quote
So it wasn't
is,
the
and this
banker's
is
fault.
by
Yeah.
Dr. Adrian Rogers. It looks like.
Yes.
You cannot, so we're quoting from the picture here, you cannot legislate the poor into freedom by legislating the wealthy out of freedom. What one person receives without working for, another person must work for without receiving. The government cannot give to anybody anything that the government does not first take from somebody else. When half of the people get the idea that they do not have to work because the other half is going to take care of them, and when the other half gets the idea that it does no good to work because somebody else is going to get what they work for, that, my dear friend, is about the end of any nation. You cannot multiply wealth by dividing it.
I don't know where to begin with that kind of horse hockey.
These are the same shitheads that love Ayn Rand.
Yeah, and like I said, if you could tell, they had just got done the
Ayn Rand,
1929
who collected Social Security.
Oh,
Ayn
yeah.
Rand.
And so there was a big financial debacle back then, similar to the 2007 one. It was even worse because there was no social safety nets, and here was just somebody who who was a right-wing tool, just trying to say that basically ignoring the fact that, all right, first of all, the reason why there was poverty in 1931 was because the rich had misaligned the wealth. They had stolen. If they keep writing about, well, the poor want a handout. Well, first of all, how about let's provide it. They were stolen from. Their houses were lost. The Grapes of Wrath is a very accurate depiction of what happened. They had their land stolen. And then when they weren't given any food else, they said, well, now that I'm homeless, can I at least have some free food? some rich bourgeois doctor decides to write, well, why should we give you free food? Why don't you just earn it? Well, dude, I was earning it on my farm until you stole my farm, until the wealthy stole my farm. And now when I ask the wealthy to at least give me a soup kitchen, which is like pennies on the dollar, now they're crying that they don't want to build a soup kitchen.
Well, and it was a very similar thing that happened recently, 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
When the banks started giving away houses and, authorizing subprime mortgages and all, like things that they knew, like good business sense dictates that it will fail.
Yeah.
And then, when they said, well, we should go after the banks, we should do something about this. And they called it class warfare.
Yeah, because they were the victims. The bankers were the victims.
How dare you? And here, let's see. I actually really like this. Let's see.
It's got so many good parts in it. I don't know
let's see. What one person receives without working for, like these people that inherit fantastic amounts of money and
let's
buy
talk
elections.
about receiving things that you haven't worked for.
Another person must work for without receiving, like the person who works 2 full-time jobs, neither of which provide benefits.
Yeah. Or enough rent so they don't have to live with their parents or their adult children. Let's talk about like people receive. Yeah, well, let's review this. Receiving something that you haven't worked for. If there's anyone who fits that bill, it's the people that run Chase Manhattan and Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Like if I had
Walmart,
if I had billions of dollars to piss against the wall, I wouldn't be giving away loans to people that I knew couldn't pay for them just so I could repossess their shit a couple years later.
Yeah, and let's talk about people working and not being properly compensated, like the people who make our food and grow our food and work on our roads and sell, of course, all the products that the Walmart sells. Let's talk about not being compensated, But, of course, that letter doesn't refer to that. They refer to that it's only the poor that are slackers and always the wealthy are the hard workers.
Right. Well, I mean,
and they're victims because they got to pay taxes. Oh, and that's another thing. What about, they don't mention the word tax, but they're leading up to. And why do they have to pay taxes? Well, because they do use the sewer systems, the seaports, the airports, the train depots,
the rest
and
of the
all
public
the roads
commons that your tax dollars supposedly go to.
Yeah, and all the fresh drinking water that goes into manufacturing their goods. I'm sorry. I think that letter just kind of left it out. For a doctor, you kind of were.
Yeah, man.
Quackish.
So, who is this? Adrian Rogers.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. What else do we have? There is an interesting little tidbit you found.
Here's a beautiful one.
Kind of an odd picture. This is an old cup.
Yes.
With a coaster.
Well,
is that what it is? A dirty coaster. And a ring.
What it was is that was in the Auschwitz Museum. Auschwitz has been turned into a museum, of course, the famous death camps.
Antique.
The Nazi death camp. And, it was a cup that was used at the time, but I guess some very artful Jewish person hid his, because he was trapped there, obviously, he couldn't get out. Right. So he hid his ring and his necklace in a false bottom in that cup. And finally, the adhesive that he used over the decades finally disintegrated enough to where the false bottom fell out. So when the curator was moving the cup to a new location, a ring and a necklace fell out. And then they checked the gold, and the gold was of a type that came from Poland that was mined between 21 and 31. So here we go. The Nazis stole everything they could from the victims of the Holocaust, but one family managed to outsmart them for more than 70 years. The staff at the Auschwitz Museum in Poland recently discovered that an old mug had a false bottom that hid a ring and a necklace. It was hidden very well, Hank Kublik of the Memorial Collection said in a news release. However, due to the passage of time, the materials underwent gradual degradation and the second bottom separated from the mug. I didn't. Anyway, the gold that they tested was of a certain isotope of they call it 583, and
Yeah, and so there's a way that you can place geographically where
the gold came
something
from.
comes from by the radioactive isotopes in it.
Yeah, and so they discovered that it was made during what era was this mine active that made the gold 583, and it was during the 20s, and which would mean that people would have had wore jewelry in the 30s from that. So yeah,
very interesting.
And then
so they outsmarted the Nazis.
Yeah,
good job. All right, man. What else do we have?
I wonder how much jewelry was missing from the Armenians during the Turkish thing. Oh, we're not supposed to mention that. Oh boy, went too far. Yeah, because that never happened.
Yeah, well, at least, when a government goes so far out of their way, like the Turkish government, to say, like, to try and erase all evidence of it, I just find kind of odd.
Did you hear a thing they had on 60 Minutes a few years ago? And there was some kind of farm, and they decided to, kind of like like happens in L.A., what was once farm on the outskirts of city, well, the city grows so much that now we have houses on it. Mm-hmm. Like Chino Hills has done that.
Sure.
Over the past 15 years.
Well, most of Orange County.
And most of Orange County. And so they converted their farmland. Well, there was a part of Turkey that they were converting to housing tracts. And when they dug in there, they started finding all these bones.
Yeah, these mass graves.
And because they never did know where the killing fields were. The Turks were very good about that. So they sectioned it off, and they're building, and they didn't do anything with it. They're just, you're not allowed to build anything, and they have armed guards there all the time now. And so, and slowly over it's happened a few years ago now, but slowly they're starting to build around it. And they said eventually you're going to see a blank square in the middle of some suburbs, and they're not going to be able to explain why is there a blank square. So, because because then they would have to go in and dig it up, but then they don't know, and so they're being watched, and the international community would like to go in there, but they say, no, you don't have a right to just start digging around.
Yeah, and I figure at that point, and I don't like assuming things, but, when the government of anywhere goes so far out of their way to, cordon off an area and be like, no, this thing that you think happened here, no, that's not what happened there.
What the funniest thing is why would they have, they would pay the money for security guards?
Yeah.
That's the suspicious thing. But why would they spend that kind of cash on a 24-hour guard of a piece of land?
It's safe to assume that that's probably the thing that happened there.
Yeah. But probably made very productive land, though.
Probably.
Yeah, because all that human body makes great fertilizer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, moving right along. Oh, wait, there's Bernie and Hillary again.
And there they are again. She's getting her delegates.
See, what is...
She would have never gotten them if it weren't for the...
Yeah, AP survey reveals a threshold reached, which, and it turns out that actually wasn't the case. Like, the AP has gone way out of their way to try and justify, reporting what they did. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, like, they were taking into account votes that hadn't been counted yet.
Yeah.
That hadn't been cast yet.
Yeah.
And so, it's just straight electioneering.
Yeah.
Like, that's the definition of it. And it's a shithead thing to do.
And then the thing that with the liberals was a lot more liberals will leave the Democratic Party and become independents or Green Party or some other party. Trump ran into this, but not as bad. See, not as many Republicans. A lot of Republicans I know will call themselves libertarian, but they won't actually go and stick by the conviction and re-register as a libertarian on about, for voting purposes. So a lot of Republicans were able to come back over, but the ones that were libertarians and that wanted to vote for Trump found also the same troubles. And those same 5 states that were very troublesome, and then other states like even California where they had to go and you couldn't vote by mail, you had to go turn your ballot in and go through a little bit of a process. So he was fighting about that because he felt the same thing that Bernie did. Unfortunately, or fortunately for him, there was a much smaller percentage of the Republican Party that's disenfranchised that went for the conservative alternative, where liberals are a little bit more feisty. They will actually go and re-register and go for their liberal alternatives.
Right.
So, but he kind of felt that, but not to the degree that poor Bernie did.
I think, Trump, I think, just did a better job of, however he managed to do it, just destroying like all of the other candidates in the Republican Party to the point where they really kind of just outed themselves.
Yeah.
When you have, like, there's plenty of stuff to attack Trump on.
Yeah.
But when you have 4 other Republican candidates on a debate stage talking about how small Donald Trump's hands are, and that must mean he's got a little dick. And that's your talking point.
Yeah, and that the other 4 were so mundane. They say things that Republicans have been saying for a couple of decades now. And that is, we got to cut taxes. We got to get tough on the foreign enemies, and the poor are really dragging the rich down. And why don't they get off the rich's back?
Right, like you do.
Even amongst the right wingers who like my friends that were on Facebook that love that letter we just read.
Right.
Even they were like, oh, even they, when Ted Cruz says the exact same thing that was in that letter that they were all liking this afternoon, even they're like going, it's been there, done that. It's getting too old.
Which was the one that was all about like just repeating over and over again? Now we got to stop Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah. And little did he know that like Obama's not in the race this time around.
Yeah,
that's not a thing that you get to tout as your platform.
I know. I made a film on YouTube called "No Third Term." There's a joke about how there's a lot of Republicans that thought there was going to be a third term of Obama.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a feminist convention and you pass around a petition to end women's suffrage.
Yeah,
because it sounds like suffering, you'll get stupid people to sign it.
Yeah.
Even though it's against the spirit of the convention that they're at.
I like that. I'm going to do that to some women here.
They did that on the Man Show a while back, yeah.
Oh, they went to some convention?
Oh, here's a thing that kind of, we'll tell you what, how about if was this our last? It looks like it was. So, this picture of our old friend here.
He's our old friend. I decided to swoop in and swoop out. All
right, we'll just go. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I wanted to.
So this kind of leads into the next show that's on after Truth Noir here, juicing the People versus O.J. Simpson with early repeat guest on the show, Adam Papigan, and he's actually quite the O.J. Simpson enthusiast.
I don't know if he knows that this was going to come on tonight.
He hosts the O.J. Simpson murder tour.
Yes,
around the Southland.
Yeah, he does.
And
which I want to go on.
Yeah, so
and then he has a TV show on. It's on YouTube also, and where they were following the miniseries that was on FX,
right, and fact checking, and
then they
doing
kept
a little bit of a critique.
And they had so much information. They went on like another month after the series.
Right, it's still going.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us why O.J. Simpson has entered our foyer today?
In past mugshots, O.J. Simpson has not looked too happy. In a now infamous 1994 mugshot, he was arrested in the death of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown, and her friend Ron Goldman. The expression was dismal, with few traces of the affable star from the Naked Gun or Hertz rental car commercials, helping him make a household name. He was famously acquitted on the murder charges. He
Right.
he stares, and then in 2013 he stares solemnly at the camera on his last mugshot in the Nevada Department of Corrections, where he's serving up to 33 years for armed robbery.
Yeah, when he broke into a person's room and tried to heist back some what was it, some kind of collectibles property of his that was auctioned off because he owed millions of dollars in fines for the wrongful death civil suit that
Yeah.
was levied against him by Mr. Goldman's parents.
Oh, he was. Yeah. Did he ever pay that back, or?
Well, that was part of why his property was auctioned off. And
Oh.
amongst those things were some collectibles that found themselves in the possession of the. This is how he ended up in prison this time. Because he went in there.
Because he was found guilty in 2008 of criminal conspiracy, kidnapping, assault, robbery, and using a deadly weapon after a 2007 incident at the Palace Station Hotel and Casino in Nevada, in which he says he was trying to reclaim items that were stolen from him, including his Heisman Trophy.
Right.
Oh, so these were just probably repo men trying to take.
Well, yeah. To the best of my memory, they were things that were auctioned off.
To pay his bill.
People bought these things at auction because he had all his shit repossessed.
Wow.
And so he's like, "Dude, give me back my trophy now." And so, yeah, that's how he ended up in prison this time around. But he's supposed to be, I don't mean to...
Oh, he could be released on parole in 2017, by which point he will have served the mandatory minimum sentence of 9 years. So he's looking to, they're predicting he's going to get out in 2017, and that's why he's finally smiling. First time in years he smiled. And the reason why they took another mugshot is because every so many years, the prison wants to always have an updated mugshot. So it's been he's been in there for like 7 or so years or 8 years, and so they want to take another shot. And he's getting older, and so he's coming on the tail end of his term. And he's going to get out soon, so he's probably happy. You know, wouldn't you be happy? 1 more year to go. And
yeah, I suppose. I mean, I suppose I'd be happy if I got away with murdering my wife and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly murdering 2 people.
Yeah. That.
But more on that later.
Yeah, I gotta go on that tour with Adam Papagon.
Yeah, I think it's gotten pretty popular. I know he does it a few times a year now.
Well, he's if you don't get on early, he makes money at it too, because but for me, he's in a catch-22 because he doesn't want to charge me money, but he needs every seat filled by a paying customer. So
should be the co-host.
Yeah,
of the O.J. Simpson murder tour.
Yeah, if he tells me certain things, or I'll help him get in the car or whatever. And but yeah. So I'm going to get on there one of these days. And if he wants me to pay him, I'll pay him. Hey, I think it's worth it. I think it's a good tour. It's actually nothing to be sneezed at. I mean, it's a high quality tour, and you get a lot out of it. And that's why his tour is constantly sold out every time. He only does it like several times a year.
It's gotten really good reviews. It actually got I believe, a write-up in one of the local LA papers.
Oh, wow.
And so,
okay.
Yeah, cheers to you, Mr. Papagon. But yeah, so with the remainder of the show, Dirk, I wanted to ask you if Hillary Clinton gets elected or if Trump gets elected, which country would you like to resettle in if you could?
Well, you were thinking about doing some recon this summer in Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
So if that turns out good, maybe we just make it a one-way ticket there.
If they have a college in Iceland that is down to let me finish my degree there, I'd be down to repatriate.
Yeah, what was your major?
I don't know, man. I would take. They have a degree in trolls and fairies. You can learn all about the local Icelandic folklore.
Oh, now, who did these people descend from? The
They're
Danish or the Vikings?
The Danes and the Norwegians, I believe.
Okay,
mostly.
so kind of the Vikings.
Actually, it's the Icelandic language has remained one of the purest in the world. It's seen very little influence from outside sources over the last 1,000 years, and actually many of the families, the people that live in Iceland, are descendant from the original colonists, I guess you would say.
Yeah, colonists. Wow. Huh.
And yeah, it's a very, very rich historical background. So yeah, Iceland definitely one.
Yeah. Well, Mexico is always a good place because Mexico, it gets a lot of bad press in the news, but there's a lot of spots in Mexico.
Yeah, because we gave their drug lords a whole bunch of guns a few years ago.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, we also take away, and our corporations down there take away a lot of good standard of living from the workers, so the workers have no other choice but to participate in some other ways to make money.
Yeah, some extra.
But there's a lot of areas in Mexico that are peaceful and nice, and they're very comfortable for anybody to live. So Mexico, Central America is very good.
I heard Costa Rica is really nice.
Central America is one of those few stories where once they got rid of the Reagan death squads and they stopped fighting communism and they actually just raised the standard of living for the average person just a little bit, communism went away. Revolution went away. So, yeah, people don't want to have a revolution. And I think, in the Middle East, I think if they went in, and our arms companies don't want to do this, or they would have done already, but if they went in there, and they're a little bit more rambunctious over there, but still the same thing. If you create a minimum wage system there and a certain standard of living that your average person had, why all that terrorism would just disappear.
Yeah,
you heard about
fake,
in
right?
Syria, the reason why for the past 5 years, they've had a super drought. And 75% of the farms in Syria had to be abandoned. So these people flood into the cities, and the only thing that the commerce there is organized crime. We call it terrorism, but it's just basically no different than any poor neighborhood in some inner city in America. And that's how you make money.
It's scarcity. It's scarcity
Yeah.
that breeds this kind of behavior. It's survival instinct that kicks in, and it's not certain groups of people that are bad. It's people that don't have enough.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, you know what I was thinking to solve the Syrian problem?
What's that?
Well, it would cost just as much at first, but initially as the military costs now, except very early on it would just drop off in cost. And that is, we take all our technology that we're spending on planes and bombs and all that, and drones and make desalination plants, and then re-water the farmland, and there we go. And then when the farmland comes back, people start going out there, then crime starts to go away. And
well, yeah, Dirk, but you can't do that, because then people would be in an uproar, and they'd be like, "Why are you spending all that money making other places better? You should be spending that money at home."
Well, those would be the mouthpieces for the arms industry that they would hire people, provocateurs, to pretend like they're a concerned citizen, when in fact they're just hired by the arms industry, because the arms industry would lose money.
Well, yeah, no, of course.
Now, certain scientists and engineers that worked for the arms industry would now work for the desalinization people, so it wouldn't affect the working people or the technical people or the and even a lot of the soldiers would just be there they would guard it, because at first it's still sketchy over there.
Or help set it up.
But they would help set it up, and they would guard it and help set it up, and it would be great training for them. So when they came back to America, they now know how to work in heavy industry, which is a good skill.
Sure.
And it's a win-win for everybody. And then eventually you have a problem that just every year just goes away a little bit. And then until until 10 years or 20 years from now, you got, old Syrians telling their kids about, well, there's a time where you could walk down the street without carrying a gun or a knife because somebody was going to get you. It was like the Old West. It was crazy. And then people were like, oh, Grandpa, you couldn't be out after 10 o'clock at night and wearing that dress. Oh, they dang you, But oh, Grandpa, yeah, I always like to try to see that something could be better, And I like to dream that Syria could be like that.
And it would. Like you said, it would be a fraction of the cost. A lot of these things would be one-time expenditures, and obviously maintenance and stuff, but that's stuff that you would hand the responsibility over to people that you train. It's a lot easier to train someone to maintain a utility facility than it is to train them to shoot at someone and not be scared and run away.
Yep.
Huh.
So
shit. There's another problem solved.
We just solved another one here on the show. This show is like so good, and I can't wait till they bring back. They're going to bring it back one day. The little comments on the side, so people will be able to, or we should be able to. Maybe we'll have them bring in like something from Twitter or something.
Maybe.
And then that way people can tell us, hey, because I know there's people that love us, and I know there's people that don't like us. I sometimes get email that we can't. Well, I'm going to read some of the emails next week.
I've gotten nothing but love from everyone that's recognized me.
And we'll, but whatever it is, we take your questions and your comments, and in a couple weeks we're gonna read some of your letters, the good ones and the critical ones, and we'll because we're a show that is for you people out there, and we're there for you. So we're not one of those shows that you can't get a hold of the people on CNN or Fox News, but you can get a hold of us.
Unless you're one of these people that agree with this Dr. Adrian Rogers statement, then fuck you. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for this most recent installment of Truth Noir. I want to thank Dirk once again for finding some of the little interesting tidbits in the news that haven't been reported because election fever has swept the nation, where we cast our lot between douchebag and turd sandwich. So here's to it, you guys. We're done. We can only solve one world problem per day.
Yeah, and that's a major one in the Middle East.
We just
Russia couldn't do it, and America couldn't do it. But we did it right here.
Clean drinking water, all for the low price of less than 1 year's U.S. military budget.
Wow,
it's a big fucking deal, right?
Dude, I feel smart, kind of.
All right, so we'll catch you next time. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. We never do. Usually until like a couple hours before the show.
Yeah, or a day before the show. I usually get a call on Tuesday, and we're like, "Hey, we got to put together a show." So, and then today we did even less than 1 day.
So you guys, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I know we did. And in the meantime, we'll catch you next time wherever you're going. Get there safe. Peace.